welcome in. Thanks for being here, guys. Ski to sea, we have 5 weeks, right? We're talking about the run leg. So at this point, I'll kind of get it out of the way right out of the beginning here. There's not a lot of like additional physical prep that we're going to be able to get through between now and the race. So we're going to try to take care of a lot of like logistics, tips and tricks, and then we'll touch on some physical things that we can do to hopefully prepare the body. But and even if you're like super prepared and you're like, I've been training my whole life for this, I absolutely guarantee that you're going to feel kind of crappy at the end. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, hopefully you're going to feel incredible. But I'm Chris Fredlund. I store manager here at Fairhaven Runners. I am a running coach with a company called Tag in town. We coach private clients for whatever events they want to do. We also just started the Stride program with the Lighthouse Mission. So we started like a run group with them to increase some structure, community building, stuff like that with them. So if you have any questions about any of that, let me know. Happy to talk about it. But today, ski to sea. For those of you that grabbed one, if you didn't grab one and you want one, it's right up on the counter up there. This is just going to chat about or go through a couple of the pieces we want to work through. The basics, right? May 24th, the race starts 7:30 a.m., right? That would be the first person on your team. They're going to start at 7:30 a.m. You're going to need to be up there well before that, right? I think that the road closes at like 7:15, right? So make sure that you guys have, logistically, you have your carpooling. If you're on a car-free team, potentially get up there the night before. Consider kind of what that's going to look like. But that road's going to be closed going up to Heather Meadows and stuff up there at 7:15. So make sure you're up there. Race starts at 7:30. 8 miles, right? You're going 8 miles, but the pacing for that is going to be way faster, right? You're going down 2,200 feet, which is, for those that are doing a lot of trail running in town, essentially kind of like go to the top of Galbraith and then just run all the way down the road of like the Tower Road of Galbraith, and then do a little bit more of that, right? So it's a lot of impact on the body. Pacing wise, you're going to be able to run, if you're looking at a watch or something like that, you're going to be running a little bit faster than like an 8-mile pace, right? That makes sense? Cool. A couple other quick things. There will be a sweeper, right? So if you are moving along a little slower than you expected, if your team hands off a little bit later than you expected, there will be a van leaving from the top at 10:30, right? They will slowly work their way down. If they catch you, then your leg is done. Does that make sense? I don't think that this happens a ton, right? I'm sure all of us in here are going to be just fine, right? But just keep an eye on that, right? If a van comes around, that's the sweeper, and we'll be done at that point. There is no water. There's no like water stations or anything on this leg. If you are someone that's like, I really want to have some fuel, some water, some hydration along the way, bring it yourself, right? I might suggest having like a soft flask, something like that, in case you need it. Most folks, I think the average time for this is just under an hour, right? It's about 57 minutes for this leg. So there's a chance that a couple of us in here might want to have like one goo or like a little bit of water or something like that. Although I think a lot of folks are going to get through without that. Questions about that?
It was hot last year.
Yeah, it was, yes.
Surprisingly.
Yes. With that said, some other logistics. your downhill skier or snowboarder or whatever, however they want to get down the hill, they're going to hand off to you. I implore you, while you're waiting for those first two legs to finish their leg and hand off to you, keep some warm clothing on. Have a sweatshirt, have some sweats. You're going to be standing there for like at least probably an hour at least, right? You're just going to be kind of hanging out. If you're standing up there in shorts and a tank top, you're going to be pretty cold, right? So even though, yes, it was hot last year, when you're up there that early, it is pretty cold. So have some warm-ups on, have like a shopping bag, a trash bag with you, and then when you start to see folks come in, you can start taking your clothes off, put it in the bag, and then a pro move, you take the wristband from your teammate, you give them a trash bag of your clothes, right? You're not just gonna like throw it off into the parking lot, just it's an easy trade, they'll bring it down the mountain when they come down, yeah? It's a simple thing. The first time I did this, didn't think about it at all. I was standing up there just shivering for like an hour, and it was a silly thing to do, right? Just plan ahead, bring an extra set, hand it off to your teammate. That means at the bottom, we kind of want to essentially do the same thing. You're not going to hand off, you're going to hand off the wristband to your road cyclist. They do not need to hold your warm-up clothes, right? There's going to be a whole area where you, under your own sort of safety, right? Like you can leave some stuff there. You can hand off your wristband and you can go get it. But you're gonna want some warm clothes at the top and you're gonna want some warm clothes at the bottom. In addition, that road is gonna be closed. I think I wrote 11:30, right? So, if you finish at 10:30, you might have an hour where you're just sitting there, you can't leave, you can't get a ride back there or whatever, right? You're just gonna be sitting there. So have a bag of clothes at the bottom, maybe have some food, some water at the bottom. Cool? Questions? Make sure it's labeled with your team number, all that kind of stuff. Cool, okay. Another point, your bib has to be visible at every exchange. They're gonna be yelling over the intercom like, Team 272, right? You need to be able to show that you are Team 272 when you go grab that and you run through. Does that make sense? Cool. That also means at the bottom of this sheet, there's a blank space. Know your team number. A lot of folks, they know their team name and they don't think about their team number. Know your team number because they're just gonna be yelling out the team number most of the time, yeah? Cool. So we'll get into some other stuff unless people have questions right away on any of that. As far as prehab, like I said, there's not a lot that we can do to like get like crazy fast. Yes?
I just thought of a question.
Yep.
How do you time taking off sweats when you don't know how fast they're going down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is tough. I think generally what all of the folks that I've been working with on this have done, they have estimated sort of roughly how they've talked to their downhill skier and said, hey, how long is this going to take you roughly, right? And then you kind of just like mill around the exchange zone, and you're going to start to see like one person come through, 4 people come through. Like it's just going to really, really happen quickly.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of get close, and you'll be able to see. Like,
okay.
You can see a pretty good ways. And once you see them coming down, you can take some clothes off. So, okay, like I said, as far as preparing the body, what we can do is over the next 5 weeks, we can spend time pretty much just getting your quads ready to take a beating, right? Specifically, you can look at hosts of different research, right? Most folks, in terms of what feels successful to them, what is sustainable for them for like being consistent over a month or so, is about 2 to 3 sessions a week. For a lot of us, this type of stuff that we'll talk about, you can do a little bit more if you want to, if you like it, if that feels good. But 2 to 3 sessions a week is like what we need to do in order to actually get some sort of stress adaptation. Cool. Activation. Every single day, if you can, before you go for a run, before you go for a walk, before you go to the gym, whatever you're doing, any exercise, we want to do some activation. Again, for those of you that are reading a lot of stuff, I know that there are some conflicting thoughts on activation. If we can do it, it doesn't hurt you, you should do it. By activation, I mean, really what's going on is we sit at a desk all day, we do some stuff, and our glutes have turned off, essentially, right? And we just need to kind of wake things up, and it's really helpful to do that before you do some exercise so that you're actually able to load the proper parts of your body. So, we want to activate our glutes specifically and our quads. The core is going to be helpful as we run, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the glutes and your quads are what's going to absorb a ton of this impact over 8 miles. Some specific, well, we'll get there. As far as strength goes, some specific things that we can be doing for the quads in particular: reverse lunge and or Bulgarian split squat. And I'm going to stand up for a second. Reverse lunge, most of us should know, right? We're stepping back, squat or lunging, coming back up, right? The big thing is that's going to be loading, if we're doing it right, that's going to load our glutes a little bit and our quads a lot, right? If you can load with weight, that'll be great, right? That weight can be here, that weight can be in both hands, whatever you want. It should be relatively heavy. Call it a 7 out of 10. Right back, right down, right back up, right? Reverse lunge. Bulgarian split squat is kind of that next step. We'll go this way. 1 foot on a bench, a bar, a couch, whatever feels good to you, a stool. Again, that weight can be anywhere you want it to be. We want it to be about that 6 to 7 out of 10 in terms of intensity. And we're just coming right down, right back up, right? We're gonna start to load our glutes and a lot of our quads, right? The big thing is, if you can tell, this knee, I don't need it to be way up here and then my heel comes up. Does that sound good? If we do that, we're not really getting a lot of the benefit. We want that heel to stay down and we're just going straight down. Sound good? Okay, if you have questions, we can chat about it afterwards as well. The last one that I wrote down here, just to be kind of quick and simple, is a glute bridge, right? We're gonna be on the ground, feet underneath us, bridge up, come back down. We really wanna squeeze our glutes at the top. The reason we're doing so many of these is because it's going to help us, yes, activate and strengthen just enough so that at least we can get through a few miles without just getting rocked by this descent. Does that make sense? Any questions specifically on any of that? We can chat more about it later if needed as well. Good? Okay. Okay.
Just a comment, not a question.
Okay.
No.
What we're trying to do here is just build durability, right? So as we do this, we want to build our volume. Most likely, a lot of us are probably going to end up having a bit of a taper period. Let's call it about a week before the race, right? Which means that right now you have about 4 weeks to get moving. Hopefully you've already done a lot of this work. But we want to build a little bit of that volume, specifically running downhill. Yeah, that's kind of like duh, but like a lot of us tend to avoid the downhill because it puts a lot of impact on our knees. Things don't feel very good. We like going up and having a view, but then we have to come down, right? The simplest thing to do, if you're not wanting to go drive up to Baker, probably don't do that. The road's not closed, it's not super safe. What we can do though is in your neighborhood, if you live somewhere where there's a hill, literally just, if you want, walk up the hill, run down the hill. Walk up the hill, run down the hill, right? It sounds silly, it doesn't feel like it for a lot of us, like folks that are running a lot in our lives, it doesn't feel very conventional as far as training goes. But at the end of the day, this race is not conventional, right? What we're trying to do is prepare our body to run downhill. So as you build some fitness and resilience with that, we can run up the hill, run down the hill, but the big part is obviously running down the hill. Again, as individual questions pop up, we can chat after if you want, in terms of structuring workouts and stuff like that. But we need to build durability, so do some strength work at home, spend some time running downhill, and spend some time building up a little bit of mileage before we get there, just so that we have some more aerobic capacity. Cool?
How many times a week do you think we should be running down a hill like that?
Yeah, it really depends on your personal experience with doing that, right? If you're someone that's running 60 miles a week and you're doing a lot of that mileage in the chuckanuts, you know, you might be able to do 2 or 3 times a week of like really putting some time downhill. If you're running 3 times a week, which is great, that's better than most, then, you know, maybe that's going to be, we'll start with 1, right? The rest, the 2 other runs in the week, just get some time on your feet. Don't make it too hard on yourself. That 3rd one, let's start getting downhill time. Does that make sense? So again, if individuals have questions, I'm happy to chat with you. Good question. Is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So could that be like a substitute for strides if you already do those?
It could for this event, yes. For your next, road half marathon, no. But for this event, for sure. Because what we're about to talk to is the actual race and how we can effectively do it. In order to run fast and safely downhill, it's essentially going to be a stride. We're going to be running within ourselves, and I've said that, I've underlined it. It's very important. By that I mean, if we run with big strides running downhill, and you're like, I'm going to eat up the road and I'm going to get down there so fast, more than likely you're going to be overstriding, doing a hard heel strike. And when we heel strike, all that impact comes straight up into our hips and our knees, right? It's kind of like anytime we run downhill, it's pretty normal for us to want to pump the brakes, right? And you want to be controlled, right? So you kind of put your heel down, you control it, your arms go out, and we're trying to be really safe. We want to do what we can to feel safe and smart, but if we're actually able to run on top of our body, right? If we're stacked tall, meaning if we're going downhill, now we're running like this, right? It feels kind of crazy. We just have to pick up the cadence. So when it comes to running downhill, we want to have our body over our feet. We don't want to be leaning back like this, right? We want to be standing tall, and we want to have a quicker cadence, right? When we do that, we can land more mid-foot. You can even heel strike if that's your preference in running and gait. That's totally fine. But what we don't want to do is heel strike while we're leaning back. That is you're going to have a lot more fatigue and a lot more discomfort over the 8 miles. Questions about that?
I agree. That's what I did.
There we
last
go.
year.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is stay stacked over our feet. We're going to flare our arms just a little bit, right? So that we have a little bit more control of our torso. We can kind of counterbalance some stuff and just have a quicker cadence. And that's part of why we want to start practicing running downhill. It's not just to build durability in our quads and familiarity. It's because we need to be able to learn to have a quicker cadence. And that comes back to your stride thing, right? Strides are kind of a way for us to increase our leg turnover speed, right? We now just need to do that essentially downhill. Yeah. The quicker cadence is going to allow you to, although you have more steps, right? We're literally physically taking less pressure into the body. Does that make sense? Okay.
To clarify, I did the thing you said not to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah. And how did it feel?
It felt bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So does that mean you shorten your step?
More than likely, yeah. Your stride length is going to shorten a little bit, but really not that much when you end up going from here. When you start to stack your body, the stride length is going to shorten, but just by a little bit. But we just really want to make that cadence a little bit quicker, so that we spend more time tall instead of really reaching, and over the course of that stride where we're reaching, our body wants to go back, right? We just want to stay here as much as we can. Yeah. Full disclosure, obviously I work here. Just make sure you have proper footwear. Make sure that your shoes fit and that we lace them properly. Going downhill, I'm sure a handful of us in here have slid forward in shoes, lost toenails, right? Because you're just like bumping up against the front of a shoe. It's no fun. So whether it's here, whether you have somewhere else you want to go, whatever it is, make sure that you're getting the proper fit in terms of measurements and stuff on that, like that, with your footwear. Make sure that we're lacing them up securely. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. But if we're sliding around in our shoes, not only is that going to hurt your feet, but it's also going to mean that the rest of your body, especially going downhill, has to tense up to stay balanced so that we're not sliding all the time. And then we're going to have more fatigue, right? So let your feet relax, keep your feet underneath you, make sure your shoes fit well. Yeah. A lot of folks feel like going downhill on pavement, they need to have like the softest possible shoe. It can't hurt you, assuming, well, depending on your form in running, to have a little bit of cushion or support under your foot, right? That's great. What we don't want to do is just grab the softest shoe possible and feel unstable on that shoe. Yeah. So just, when you go home tonight, look at your running shoes, investigate. Do they look like they're in good shape? Do they fit well? Do they have enough cushion for me to feel comfortable going downhill? That kind of stuff. Cool? Okay. Questions? Sweet. We talked about the fact that there is no water or like aid station on this, right? So any fueling, any hydration that you want, bring it with you. A lot of folks right now that are wanting to do that are using belts. Something like this naked belt, that black one right by the vests there. Other folks are really liking something as simple as a spy belt, right? If you have pockets in your shorts, or if you really are like, man, my hands can carry so much, great. But if you need something, just make sure you have it, because you'll be out there for, who knows how long. Again, average is about an hour. And if you need something, you should have it with you. Cool. Okay. Also, please don't have a goo and then just throw the wrapper. That's not cool. We don't want to do that. If you're gonna have something with you, take it with you the whole way. Yeah, we can throw it away at the bottom. Cool. The last thing is stay on the right side of the road, right? If you try to take a really sharp tangent on some of these switchbacks, right? You could be disqualified, right? So, while it doesn't happen a ton, we want to make sure that everyone is safe, right? In case there are emergency vehicles that have to come up, right? Anything like that. Just stay to the right side of the road. Take the right side, right? Take that right lane as much as you want. But if we start crossing over the other way, that we could have some issues. So, cool, sweet. Okay, so you've been up there, you warmed up a little bit, you traded your stuff over for a wristband, you showed your bib, you made sure that the wristband got close to the scanning machine, and you took off. You ran downhill, you stacked your body, you had a quick cadence, you saw some cool sights, and it was awesome, right? You got to the bottom, and now it's your turn to hand off to your road cyclist. They, sometimes they're going to dilly-dally a little bit so that they can match up with some other road cyclists, because it's, I think, 42 miles, and it's a lot easier to do 42 miles when you have at least one other person with you. So get it to them as fast as you can, but then get out of the way and let some other folks come through. One last piece of advice on this route. The last, I'm gonna call it a quarter mile, is nearly flat, if not like this far uphill, but it truly, it feels like you stopped, turned around, and went right back up. Going downhill for over 7.5 miles, your body is just like so fatigued, it has so much load and impact going on there, and then you just get to this like flat, slightly uphill section around the turn, and you're gonna have a lot of people there like, oh, it's right around the corner, you're right there. It is right around the corner, but it's a ways around the corner, right? So have that in your mind, be prepared, because that last little bit is, that last quarter mile is gonna be potentially harder than the 7.5 miles prior. But the good thing is, at that point, you've made it, you've handed off, you got out of the way, you found your bag of cozy, fuzzy, warm clothes and a delicious snack, and now you can hang out, and now you can rest. You can cheer on your fellow competitors. You'll see a lot of folks will want to go into the river and ice. They'll go stand in the river, recover a little bit. Do so at your own discretion there.
They don't tell you about the mosquitoes, though.
I was just gonna say thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody warns you.
Yeah, there certainly are some mosquitoes, and there are some people that are quite excited about the event. So just be smart, have some fun. But put some clothes on and eat something is really what I'm trying to say. We all have a metabolic window. Essentially, there's a lot, everyone in this room has a sort of a slightly different metabolic window. By that I mean, if you finish your run at, let's call it 10 a.m., for most of us, if we can, we should try to get within 30 minutes, try to get something, consume something. Ideally, it's a good amount of carbs and a little bit of protein. We've just burned a ton of calories. We have depleted a lot of our glycogen stores, and in order to refuel, we need to put carbs back in, and eat. In order to sort of rebuild, we need to put protein back in. Obviously, essentially, we need to hydrate and get some electrolytes as well. But try to get it, test yourself, try to get it within 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes after that, we lose a fraction of our ability to absorb all of the value of that meal. So the sooner the better is kind of essentially what I'm saying. Have something there in your bag that you can eat right away. The other reason is that you might be there for over an hour, right? Depending on how you finish and when someone's picking you up, right? So just make sure you have something to eat. There's not going to be a bunch of food waiting for you. Cool.
Do you have a bar that you recommend that would be an easy thing to get down immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really liking, I think they're called Bobos. It's seems like an adult chewy bar. But they have tons of carbs. A couple of them are gonna have some nut butter with them, so you get a little bit of protein and fat as well. And I like that one. Essentially, it could be a Snickers bar, right? In fact, it should be a Snickers bar, right? If you can treat yourself at the bottom, have something that really just bumps those glycogen stores back up, and then after that, we can have like a PB&J or whatever feels good. It seems obvious, but just really communicate that, like, who's picking you up, how are you getting back, right? Typically, you're gonna go up with your two mountain, your two other mountain legs, park the car up there.
Biker, right?
So yeah, typically you're gonna drop off your road biker
And your bag.
and your bag. You're gonna drive to the top.
Yeah.
The other three are gonna hang out at the top. They'll finish their legs. You'll run down, get your bag, eat, change, and then your two skiers will then, as the road opens, they'll kind of trail all the way down. There's not cell service out there, so plan ahead, have some visual cues, be aware of what's going on. Yeah, just kind of plan that out, make sure you know what's going on there. Yeah. Those are the big essential things. I know some of that is on the Ski2C website, right? You can go through, you'll have some extra stuff there. Packet pickup, right? May 22nd and 23rd. That's at 355 Harris, so right over there. You got to go to that. You got to get your packet. You have to be there. Make sure you take care of that. Yes.
Is that each person or just somebody on our team has to go there? Because I did not do that last year.
Yep. So as long as one person on the team goes, you're okay.
Okay.
No headphones. It's a safety situation, right? Again, we might have some emergency vehicles or other competitors coming down or whatnot, so just no headphones. If you really like your headphones, I guess you can have them at the bottom while you sleep in the grass, but no running with your headphones. I think those are the big things I had. If anyone has questions after we wrap up about their specific training, other things about the event, if anyone has questions about strength exercises, running, anything like that, let me know. Happy to chat. Otherwise, have so much fun. I hope that this was helpful. I've tried to kind of think about some little tips and tricks that seem simple, but you will see yourselves. You're gonna go up there, and there's gonna be a lot of people that this just did not cross their mind, and they're gonna be cold up there. They're gonna get to the bottom, and they're not gonna have food. They're gonna start making silly choices. So have fun. I born and raised here. I grew up just by Lake Whatcom, and it is easily the coolest race that I've ever been a part of. And even as a spectator, folks coming back down through here through Fairhaven and all that kind of stuff, it is a really cool piece of the community. And it's amazing to see folks, before we got started, we talked about how some teams are, literally hiring out Olympians to come perform for them. And then you have folks that, just found out that they're on a team, right? And I think that is kind of the beauty of it, is that you can have all these people competing with each other, celebrating where we are, and it's really cool. So have some fun. Thanks for being here. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're good to go. Yes.
Recovery suggestion?
Recoveries, you mean like the days after?
I mean that day, stretching, anything in particular?
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you can pack a foam roller. Foam rolling has, again, a lot of research. Foam rolling has been sort of proven to be one of the most effective ways to bring blood to an area and to flush out waste product. So if we can foam roll, that's great. At the very least, fuel and all that kind of stuff, we can walk a little bit and try to keep pumping blood so we can reduce some inflammation, and then lay with your feet elevated on a wall, and that'll help kind of create some of this drainage as well. For those that are particularly concerned, having compression socks is also a proven piece of recovery. You can even use them during the event. If it's for recovery specifically, the full sock, I'm just gonna say is mandatory. The sleeve, just the calf sleeve, great for during exercise, but occasionally for some of us, we're not gonna be able to pump enough blood through the cuff portion at the ankle and at the knee if we're not exercising, if we're not really pumping that blood. So if we can, and if it's something you're considering, that compression sock that goes up to the knee will be really, really, really valuable in keeping the blood moving and pumping out, like kind of stimulating a little bit of that lymphatic drainage. So that'll help with that. The foam rolling will be really help, particularly on the quads and the glutes. And fueling, that's gonna be the big thing. I would be prepared, tell work that, on Monday, or I guess maybe not Monday, right? We're gonna have a holiday there, but you might be a little sore at work for a couple of days, so keep that in mind. Yeah.